Alright, I wanted to talk over this one in particular because I think this is a really interesting concept. So, this was done on my mobile account. I have several, as you can probably tell, and I try to make my mobile account kind of mirror my main account, where it's mainly just like Dragunity, Dragon Maze, things like that. Um, I did start working on Dragon Link stuff, as you saw with the Dragon Link mirror. And I'm going to start incorporating the Boral in Dragon as well. I mean, I've already done combos that led to it, so not that difficult to include. But this one in particular, I thought was really interesting. So this looks like your generic, normal Dragunity hand, plenty of extenders. Um, if they asked a Remus, I can normal summon Senatus and bring the Remus back from the graveyard and then make my play from there. You do see the Dragon Maid Lore Par, but honestly, this is just nothing. This is the best way to put it. So these three cards right here are the optimal. Like when I was running it back, I realized that these three cards being in is what made this play really efficient. There's a couple other hands that you can get, but like these three in particular are great, and the fact that these two spots weren't needed at all to do this full play is going to be really crucial. This one was just discard fodder, and this could have been a call by the grave, or a Dragunity Glow, where I could have had an even better end board. But having like either Gamma or Called by the Grave would have been also really cool here, at least in this spot right here in particular, just in case they did have like the hand trap, so we could have played even harder through it. But let's just kind of go through. We're gonna fast forward because you've seen all the Dragunity plays here. But I'm gonna kind of point out what makes this in particular so crazy is instead of ending with the Crystal Wing, we actually exchange it out for the Majestic Dragon. And in this particular deck, I think it's very imperative if you're going to go with this version, you're going to want to run Gusto Griffin over Miss Valley Baby Rock. The reason being is because it's an if this card is sent from the hand to the graveyard and not a when this card is sent to the hand to the graveyard. If you can use it for Dragon Ravine and still get the effect of special summon the monster onto the field. So it allows you to kind of play even harder through stuff, and then if their field lights up when Gusto Griffin hits the board, you know that they have infinite impermanence or like a effect veiler. So it's really important, and then if you don't see it in your opening hand, it's effectively just another Miss Valley Baby Rock that just can't make Crystal Wing. In this particular setup, since we're not going for Crystal Wing, which this would have been a pretty good hand to like make the Crystal Wing on summon 5 to play around the Biru. We could have did that, but it's not going for that. So I just wanted to point that out. That's why you're seeing that in a couple of my replays, but then in other replays you're still seeing my Miss Valley Baby Rock. It just kind of depends on the deck. I think this one is like a 60 card variant with Dragon Maids, but as you can tell, the Dragon Maids just didn't do anything before. And the reason why having the Zephyros early is so important is right here. So when we look at the graveyard, we already have our Zephyros in grave. We already have the Samsara Dragon in grave. So this means that the next rotation of Gaydur, we can put a Phalanx in grave. That's going to be really important in order to make this full board play right here. And so far as you can tell, the only, Zephyros was the only card we discarded. And again, that was important to have that early, or even if it was like Gusto Griffin instead of the Zephyros, it would have gave us the exact same result. Giving us that play and still having the Synthesis in hand allows us to, when we make this, we go ahead and kind of go without using our normal summon. We still haven't used our normal summon at this point. Phalanx in the graveyard is important so we can get that play. Go ahead and make our Boral load. So that's one big monster. Zephyros bring that back. Now we have the materials for shooting Majestic. No normal summon yet. And now we use our last discard fodder to get another Phalanx, and then we do Sinitus to get the Koos to then allow us to make the Varsha. And this gives us our standard board, but instead of having the Crystal Wing, we have the Shooting Majestic Dragon. So now we have another seal. And then we get our Arid Knight, or Reed Knight, whatever. So, you know, typically this would be the same board, except we would have Crystal Wing right here. So this would effectively been 2 monster negates, an Omni negate, and then a bounce, and then your extra card. Maybe even 2, because honestly, if we were going that way, we could have did that with a little less resources, and you know we wouldn't have needed to have gotten rid of the lower par. But by going with this, I mean we still have the additional 1 card, which again could have been called by the grave if we were playing around Ash or Maxi. This is a way stronger board, and that's because, as you're going to see here, our opponent is cracked, and we almost lose this. But having this over the Crystal Wing means if your opponent is capable of breaking your board, you effectively have a DPE in your normal play. Except this one is even better because it can't get caught by, meaning it's a lot harder to take down. It's a lot bigger, so it's harder to swing into, and it's just harder to catch. So they'd end up not killing you in that turn. When it comes back on your turn, not only do you get to negate an effect monster on the field, but then you can also negate any card that they try to activate in response. So you effectively have 2 negates on your turn, which is phenomenal and is reoccurring. So, you know, that's always great. And then of course we have him, which if this was oblique, like I mentioned, that'd have been a counter trap. So in case our opponent played Dark Ruler no more, you know, that'd have been phenomenal. Luckily our opponent didn't play that. And then pretty much standard. And so I always try, whenever my opponent activates something that can be pretty crucial, like I know this has graveyard recursion, and also effectiveness in hand. It's just better to negate it and banish it. But I tend to use the Shooting Majestic first just to get it off the field in case my opponent decides to do something that could break the board after I've used up a couple of negates. What I've noticed a lot of people would do is, let's say he had a Lava Golem in hand. If I negated that, let's say with this monster, he would then Lava Golem these 2, and then I have no more interactions besides my bounce and my face down card. So I usually try to get Shooting Majestic off the field first, just in case of that. I've came across that very often. And then negate Spanish, so completely takes it out. I'm gonna let that go through. And then of course banish that. He has a long one in hand. Alright, we're gonna get rid of that. And as always, we're saving our Borolo Savage Dragon until we absolutely need to use him. We're not using him to negate any monster effects if we can help it. This deck isn't running Keoki Miru Dragon, just because it has way too many other random cards. So I'm just going to go ahead and start swinging into the Chambermaid package. I mean, if they enter battle phase, I have Lopar in the graveyard already, and then as you see here, I'm going to search for my my changeover anyway. So if they do enter battle phase, she's coming back in my hand. Lopar is hitting the field, and that's going to give me some more kind of recursion again. So I'm already setting up for my following turn, because the way that they were playing, they had something to break me. And so he was ready to do that. And then of course the infinite impermanence that he wasn't counting for. So, you know, he's counting all of my cards, and he knows that there's only one other play I have left, and that's Borolo. So he was looking to get that, and whatever he had left was probably going to bring him into his Halcyon combo, which would have annihilated me. But luckily the one extra card we had was something that could stop his play, and that wins us the game. So legit almost got board broken by Sword Soul. And when I looked at his deck, he did have the Halcyon combo. So I'm thinking he had something else in hand, because if my Borolo did negate it, he could have made some type of play that would have played through, and that would have been a whole entire different duel. But I'm going to try to upload a little bit. I'm going to try to find a good setup with this variant that's pretty consistent. Um, but it's just that the where I'm at on the ladder on my main account, I'm in Plat 2, which I made it there a lot sooner than I usually do. But I mainly just did it with a 60 card going second deck that has a ton of hand traps, and it's just literally break the board and OTK type thing. Because I lose the coin toss when I make a going first deck, and then when I do go first, I get like the dumbest hands you can imagine. It's a 60 card deck, and I have like 5 1-ofs, and I'm like, okay, well, where's any of my starters? And then the next 3 cards off the top of my deck are the other 1 cards that I have. Cards that you need. Zephyros you need it, but like you really don't want it in your hand unless you're going for this type of board. But I think this is actually a really strong board, and I don't have it, so I'm going to make it real quick just so we can see it, because I know people have always been like, oh, where's the deck profile? I want to see the deck profile. Well, on this account I don't particularly have it, but I will show you the necessary cards for it. Because like I said, it was on my mobile account, so we will build it real quick, again, just for the necessities, even though at this point, I mean, it should be pretty standard, but I know a lot of new people kind of come through, so I'm gonna just kind of show the version that I am considering running for the time being. And like I said, I always end up going second, so you just have to deal with the fact that I run Whirlwind just because I'm constantly going second. But this is pretty much going to be what the deck looks like, assuming I don't forget something silly. Like Mistleton. Because, yeah, I know I've been looking at the comments, and I do see that very often that, people are always curious at the deck that I use. So I'll make this one a little bit, oh, here it is. A little bit more conscious of that a lot of you do want to see the deck that I'm using, and I'll even show you how I make it, just some of the ratios and stuff. I always do Gamma. It's a terrible brick. I draw a driver twice as often as I draw a Gamma, but it's kind of whatever. You could do Ash Blossom. I don't, at this point, I'm kind of not running Ash Blossom, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. If you're looking and you're noticing a lot of royals, just get better at pulling. Let's see. Who stole Griffin? Did I not have my Zephyro saved? Alright, well, let's save him. And again, the main purpose of having okay, I can't spell. The main purpose of having Gusto over Mist Valley is, again, when you see Ravine, it's a lot more beneficial having it in hand, especially if you have literally nothing else, because the 1 card that you send isn't actually a bad card at all, and it's really useful. And I don't have the Majestic Dragon on this account, but you would have it. Funny enough, it's actually better to run this Majestic Dragon over this one. Even on the one replay I had, my opponent just decided to quick trigger and then banish this because I drew it off the top. But you actually want this, and the reason being is there's a weird scenario where your opponent is interrupting you, and you end up with Romulus on the field, and you can still Synchro summon, and this card is in your hand. And when you Synchro summon to a zone that he points to, you can special summon a dragon from your hand, but you negate its effects. Well, this is always Majestic Dragon. This isn't. This is a part of its effect. And I've been in the situations where I could have made shooting Majestic through being ashed or effect veiler or something like that. Like, I'm actually playing through it, and you don't get to actually use it for the material because it's no longer considered Majestic Dragon. So that actually came up, and it was funny, to say the least. I actually thought it was pretty funny that took place. And Of course, I'm sorry, Dragon, as this helps facilitates the play. I'm gonna bookmark this. And I think this is pretty much what all you need to really make the board happen. You would still play it, of course, Crystal Wing. And that's just because every hand isn't going to give you that play. That actually didn't cut out as much as I was hoping it would. And then of course there's still an extra spot, which is why it's like it's not that big of a deal to run it, because you really do have a lot of extra space in this deck when building. I forgot this card. Not that it's really not that important. It's more like an extra extender just in case. But I would say this is like what I would build to kind of optimize it. And you know, you have your Gold Sarcophagus and Tempest for more starters to get you to your Remus. You need your Remus in the Senatus or any other card in your hand, not named Majestic Driven or Driver, in order to kind of really make the big play. We're playing 3 glows, so we can use Romulus to search the Oblite. You of course want your 2 Cult Buys and your 2 Gammas, because your opponent is going to try to do whatever they can against your Remus, or whenever you're special summoning your Legatus, they're going to go, okay, time to max C, and then Gamma can basically get you your Borolo Savage Dragon early, making it a lot more flexible for you to make your end board with the shooting Majestic Dragon. The rest of the spots are kind of whatever you want to include, because we have pretty much everything necessary here. Mistleton, your Gusto Griffins, and everything like that. Then this surprisingly is a small package just with Majestic Dragon, just because you just need the seals to kind of make it happen. And as you saw, it's pretty streamlined in terms of the combo. And with these a couple little extra spaces in here, you can either add Dragunity Ducks. I don't really like Ducks. He's only really good turn 3, or some really arbitrary situations where he might pop up if you have he would come up in the scenario where you have Koos already engraved and instead, but I think there's a way that you could play around him already being engraved or something like that. Like, I'm fairly confident. So if you wanted more hand traps, you can include the hand traps. You know, I always like my Keoki Mirror Dragon. I think it's pretty busted, especially with everybody running Despia. You toss him on the field, even going first. If you open this in any dragon, you just normal summon this pass, Despia cries. They don't have a normal summon bigger than this. And most of them don't play Lightning Storm or anything like that. So, like, you just kind of auto win with him on the field. And you can make 8k damage without having without having to special summon anything that's light or dark. Despite the fact that you have a couple light and dark monsters in Red Eyes. in Red Eyes and Heradic King, Dragon King, you know, you can still make a really strong board without necessarily needing to play that, and otherwise you just kind of play through. And then the other cards I would recommend is like Triple Tactics Talent, or if you really need more draw power, Small World is fine in here. And if you're playing Small World, you want to play Maxi. And that may sound weird, but funny enough, Maxi is a bridge to Remus. If you open your Gusto Griffin, who kind of doubles, he's a 2 that can get you to Maxi, and then Maxi's a 2 that can get you into Remus. So you could play your Small World in that, which would go, you know, if you go first and you open Maxi and Small World, then it's a little trickier in that regard. It's a little harder to get to Remus if you open the Maxi, but if you open the Gusto Griffin, that's another route to it. But I don't really care for that package too much, and I'm not really playing Maxi all too often myself. But this is the board. I mean, this is the deck. If you are interested in trying it out, this version that you're looking at right here is exclusively like a go first version. This is not going to break any boards aside of you having Dragunity Whirlwind in your opening hand and Remus and maybe Triple Tactics Talent. Like, you would absolutely not be able to break any boards with this, maybe Gamma as well. It'll be very tricky for you to do so just because any interactions will kind of halt you. But if you're going first, you should, reliably open a starter. We're gonna ignore that hand. You should, like right here, this would not only get you, yeah, this here is a godly hand. You will open your Remus, and then if they decide to, ask you, you get to hit the call by, and then you have everything that you need in your hand right here. Everything here is discard fodder, so you can openly use your triple tactics talent, rip a card out their hand, and then use your Ravine, send the Gusto Griffin, get the Legatus, special summon, do your whole combo, and then with your next rotation, you can add the Ravine to your hand and put it back, and then send some Sorrows to the graveyard and something else. So this is full combo. This will get you to shooting Majestic Dragon normal board and play through 1 to 2 hand traps. I mean, this will hit the Ash or the Maxi that they try to play on you, and then you get the triple tactics, any other hand trap or starter that they may have. This would also be a full play, and this would also get you into your Oblite. So you would open your Glow, see if they got the Ash, if they're Ash happy, and then you can Gamma, and then you're really off to the races at that point, and then you just use your Romulus to get to your Glow at that point. So this is another good hand. You got a good starter here, another starter here. You played through Ash, you got your Maxi bait, and then you're going to have your Oblite, you're going to have your Shooting Majestic. So as you can tell, if you're going first with this deck, with this particular setup, you're off to the races. Majority of these hands are going to get you to your inboard. And in cases like this, if you're going second, I mean, you love to see Whirlwind and Remitz going second, because this is going to help you kind of make a board to break them with. And if you are looking to do a board breaking thing, I would definitely include Red Dragon Archfiend, the Scarlet Red Dragon, just because he's pretty good at breaking boards. But that's the deck. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Make sure to subscribe, and if you like this, let me know. I do try to read all the comments. I don't particularly get too many of them, but I do read them eventually. And I try to comment back, try to like and everything like that. I'll also be starting up a partner channel with a friend of mine, so I'll be kind of linking some posts from there as well. Maybe also adding it up to this channel. I'm not going to be Yu-Gi-Oh exclusive, as you saw from some of my streams. I'm also playing Apex Legends, Overwatch. I'm going to be playing Overwatch 2 when it comes out. There's going to be a lot of content around there, so expect that. I'm still going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh, so if you're here for the Yu-Gi-Oh gameplay, don't think that it's going to just kind of dissipate. I'm still going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh. I actually really enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh a little too much. But yeah, and now I got to get to work. Catch y'all later.